Well, Boris Johnson is set to face PMQs today, where presumably Russia will, well, no doubt, be top of the agenda.
Let's talk to our political reporter this morning, Bill Bowkett. Thank you for joining us nice and early this morning. Look, there has been widespread criticism, not just from across the political divide, but from some of Boris Johnson's own party, and not necessarily, unknown people like Jeremy Hunt, Ian Duncan-Smith, saying that these sanctions don't go far enough. Do you think that he'll come under fire in PMQs today?
I think that's certainly the case. I think the potential conflict in Ukraine and the UK's response is likely to feature as one of the key issues, although I do question whether they might pull back from it slightly, given the fact that I think Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, want to see seen almost united in the front in the face of Russian aggression. But yes, certainly, I think questions will be asked of the Prime Minister of his response. Of course, yesterday we saw that the Prime Minister introduced sanctions for 5 big banks, one of them being a Prometska bank, which is actually the bank tied to the Russian military because they have several dozen lucrative defense contracts done through their accounts, and then also the 3 oligarchs as well. So there would be questions as to whether more should be the case. I think you saw yesterday Layla Moran of the Liberal Democrats using parliamentary privilege to call out more than 30 oligarchs and whether they should be banned from the UK, and also questions as to the Prime Minister's claim that sanctions have been put on Roman Abramovich, the Chelsea Football Club owner, which had to be brought to a point of order from Chris Bryant, the chair of the Standards Committee. So certainly there's lots of sticking points on the issue of Ukraine today at PMQs.
Maybe a lot of people at home who say, well, look, why aren't they focusing more? Why isn't top of their agenda this whole cost of living crisis?
No, definitely. I think possible questions on the cost of living and inflation definitely is going to be coming up. If it's not from Sir Keir Starmer, it certainly will be from Labour MPs and some Tories as well. So you've seen today that government interest payments, hitting a record high of 6 billion, and you're still seeing that inflation is continuing to rise, despite the economic forecast that the Bank of England predicted, at the end of last year, forecasting for 2022. I think Boris Johnson will have his, often typical response where he will talk about growth, employment, and the fact that wages are up, and actually overall interest payments are actually very, very low. And there's new reports from the Institute for Fiscal Studies that would back up that. But obviously, the big elephant in the room, and it continues to be a hemorrhage on the Conservative Party, is this planned rise in national insurance contributions, which the Tories aren't going to be able to escape from, especially in the light of the cost of living crisis and also the situation in Ukraine, which could increase gas prices further.
And look, Bill, given the situation in Ukraine, the cost of living crisis that you're outlining there, lots of people will be very frustrated to learn that Partygate will come up in PMQs again today. The Times has it back on their front page, and this is after it's emerged that Prime Minister Johnson will be the first ever Prime Minister to be questioned under caution, and this is after he's completed his questionnaire for the Met Police.
Yeah, Partygate's not going away. It's been pretty delightful, actually, for number 10, the fact that Ukraine and the cost of living crisis have been dominating the agenda, putting Partygate almost to one side. But it's now going to be coming back into fire because, as you say, Boris Johnson, first Prime Minister, be questioned under caution by the police, this leaked copy of the Scotland Yard questionnaire. I think also the level of probing is the historic first. I think if you can remember, Tony Blair once said that he'd resign in such an event during the Cash for Honour scandal back in the early to mid 2000s. So Boris Johnson is going to continue to deny that he attended those 6 alleged events. He's going to go down the continued whip line about how he has to wait until the criminal investigation by the Metropolitan Police is concluded, and that he doesn't want to comment further because he doesn't want to impede on the the wider process. But it's going to be in the agenda because the investigation will have to conclude at some point, and ultimately it could result in Boris Johnson receiving a fixed-term penalty, and it could potentially decide his premiership.
OK, Bill Bowkett, political reporter from Reaction, thank you very much for joining us.